You're watching TRTS Clips, a clip-sized content playlist that encloses experiences and stories of some of the most amazing, intellectually sound people from different walks of life. You enjoy this particular clip and don't forget to check out the entire playlist. If you like it, please support us by sharing it. Now, without further ado, the guest is all yours. You talked about you have to do your own thesis and things are not very clearly objective and there are subjective things that go on while you do angel investing. What do you mean by doing thesis, and how do you personally go about doing your thesis while you are thinking of investing in some startup? How do you go about it?
So, the first and foremost, I guess the most important aspect of the startup evaluation is the quality of the founders, which means where do they come from? What have their experiences been? What's their drive and motivation? How do we judge or get some idea about their abilities? And if you can get some more research, so it's not like always you always have this type of information, but naturally one can dig up as much as possible about the founders, because a great deal of the startup's probability of survival, I wouldn't even say forget multi-bagger, just survival depends on how these individuals react and how they behave in times of difficulty and stress. And there will inevitably be these times, right? So I think a great amount of time goes in that kind of research on what these founders might be like. And it's not always that just because they have fancy credentials or they come from great schools or universities, they will necessarily do well. Although now in today's space, pretty much anything is funded at any valuation. I think more than one instance in our own experience, founders who have not graduated from college, or in fact, in some cases, not even graduated from high school, have done phenomenally well. Because they've demonstrated their grit. They've had, I think that's probably the most important characteristic, grit, right? So obviously it comes packaged with, the insatiable willingness to learn, to adapt, and to hustle. Naturally, all these things are, non-negotiable. One has to have these things as a good founder, because things keep changing in front of you every week, every month. Things keep changing, and you can't stick with your thesis for too long. And you might have to pivot, and it's okay to pivot sometimes, right? So founder, and then a product market fit, obviously. So is there a real need for the solution being offered? Is there a real problem to begin with? So how real is the problem? How real is this? Is there a need for a particular solution? And obviously trying to gauge the strength of the competition. Sometimes you might have competition that is underappreciated or below the radar or obvious, but you want to ignore, right? And that's the one thing that will come back and bite you later, because if you didn't think about it or you didn't articulate it at the time you were making that decision, these are going to be flaws in the analysis. Apart from this, there's a great deal of subjectivity that goes into the analysis of a single startup. Sometimes, in the first 3 hours or 5 hours of thinking about a certain idea that the time for this has probably come. So which means the timing is right, but is the particular team right? We don't know. So I try and, train myself. I try and educate myself through various frameworks, through the experiences of others. Naturally, some bit of the past experiences through reading the letters of these fine investors in the value investing space has certainly helped. But there are also many young, very talented individuals who have been in the space for, let's call it a decade or so, who have very valuable experiences. And I think listening to them through their podcasts or through their writings, in some cases, people don't write as much as I would like, but they do share via the audio medium at least. So one has to sort of continually refine these theses. And just because some idea was used 6 months ago or a year ago doesn't mean we have to sort of stick with it. So we might have to just adapt, because there's too much that changes too often.